T-Mill, come out and play.
Play it loud.
We're changing the status quo one voice at a time through music, edutainment, children, and awareness. We're progressing and preserving the culture through real conversations with people who've had real success. Multicultural artists and musicians, models, entrepreneurs, innovators, and activists. This is Paradox East, and you are in tune with T-Mill. Powered by the MaitlandConservatory.org.
Thank you for listening to In Tune with T-Mill.
Welcome everybody to another edition of In Tune with T-Mill. I'm your host, T-Mill, live from the Rocket City, and you will now be encouraged and entertained. Nothing will change until you change something. We are here to change the status quo. And today is a very special episode. If you guys have been following me for a little bit, hopefully for a lot, you've noticed a lot that I'm doing with WLRH. You've noticed, even if maybe you've been listening to the station and you've heard the community newsroom, maybe you've heard some of the station IDs, or you've just seen a lot that me and also our fellow producer JQ, working with us and working with WLRH. And one of the things I've been curious about is just how radio works. So for you guys that are curious of what public radio is, or how to get involved and support public radio, or maybe you have that interest in becoming a station manager or program director and things like that. All these great questions that we have about public radio. Brett Tannehill is my guest in the hot seat today.
I'd love to talk about that sort of thing. So I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. If you guys have any questions, please drop them in the chat room and we will get them to Mr. Tannehill. Usually JQ is here to tell us those questions, but since we can't see through the phone on the other side, we're going to have to get those questions back to you. So, Brett, thank you for being with us today.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, and you mentioned some of the work you've been doing at the radio station. The most recent thing that T did for us, we had our fund drive recently, and he came by and recorded testimonials from people who were coming in and kind of checking out the station and such. And we got those all mixed up and cut up and everything, and they sounded great. So thank you for your help. And thanks for everything you've been doing in the newsroom, too.
No doubt. And thank you guys for that opportunity, because that opportunity doesn't come along. I haven't seen it in a while, to where a station reaches out to the community to ask, hey, if you guys are interested, if you would like to be a part of this station, here's how. And not only provide that opportunity, but you guys have been consistent with it and following up and just creating, an opportunity for people to tell stories or get involved with the station. So that's very important.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know about this project, it's called the Community Newsroom. And basically, if you are a public radio fanatic like T-Mill is, or JQ, or if you just like public radio, we will teach you how to make public radio. It's basically an open door thing. This summer, we're going to open it up to a new class of newsroom people. You guys were the first class. We got about 15, 20 volunteer producers. They're doing all sorts of things for us, helping us with PSAs, doing interviews. You've done an interview that was on the Public Radio Hour, a show that is produced largely by volunteers and won an award recently, competing with all the other great big
Abby Awards.
So competing against all the other big commercial radio stations. Our little volunteer effort beat out everybody in the state of Alabama. It was really great. And it's just, like I said, it's a way to really connect listeners with how radio works and teaching people how we call them homemade radio features. We had somebody out at Panoply. We're doing a voting special coming up next month. So we've got a couple of high school students that we're training, and she was out there talking to voters, and I know they got some sound. Have no idea what it sounds like yet, but
it sounds great.
It's really a neat thing, man. So I'm glad that everybody's involved with it.
Absolutely. And again, thank you, before we get any further in it, thank you everyone, for the pledge drive, everyone that's donated, everyone that continues to donate, everyone that volunteered, that came out to the pledge drive, because public radio is important. All radio is important, but when you have a public radio station that is publicly funded, it doesn't have some ginormous we wish there was some ginormous, donation that would just fall out the sky. But it is powered by the people, powered by the people for the people. And for you guys that sustain that and helped out, thank you. So now also Panoply just recently happened. Have you had, because you're so busy and I know you're like just everywhere. Have you had a chance to go to Panoply this weekend? Or
I did not make it to Panoply. I had some passes and tried to drag the 12-year-old out from in front of the computer. Didn't quite make it, but I was really thankful that they had good weather. I know they'd kind of gotten blown around a little bit with the bad weather the past couple of years, but I was following it on Facebook. I saw a bunch of my friends who are out there posting videos and pictures, and it looked really fantastic.
Absolutely. And this may be in the record books because it's still happening today, so I can't.
I have a chance still.
Yeah,
I
you still have a chance.
I got some passes. I can still make it.
You can still make it, and this may be the first year, hopefully, that it didn't rain. Because think about it, it rains every Panoply.
I know, and you feel so bad for them because it's such a monster effort to put on something like that, and you work literally for months and months and months, and you got your fingers crossed the whole time, and finally the weekend comes and it just rains you out. It's just nothing you can do. But this year, if you haven't made it out there, you still have a few hours. The last day is generally one of the best days to be there, so hopefully you can get out there. It's going to be a beautiful sunset, beautiful weather tonight, so hopefully folks will get out there and Panoply will finish strong.
Absolutely. So we're here to talk about public radio and how important it is because, again, I think it's one of those best kept secrets if people don't know about it. And then once they find the station or once they go online and once they see what's going on with their public radio, no matter where they are, no matter where you guys are listening or watching this from, find your local public radio station. And I'm sure you're going to find something interesting about it. But public radio, when you think about the difference between radio, your terrestrial, regular, I don't know what the term is, radio, and then you have public radio, so you have your top 40 station and then you have public radio. Right. What's the difference when people think, well, what's public radio? Isn't all radio public? Well,
so the top 40 stuff, that sort of thing is like commercial radio. And we are non-commercial radio, so there's some different rules that each follow, but the basic idea behind it is commercial radio, just like it says in the name, is all about the commercials, and that's how they make money, is they're trying to sell you stuff all the time. Non-commercial radio, public radio, we are not allowed to do that. It is all about information, education, fostering civic responsibility. And as you mentioned earlier, it's largely funded by listener donations. 89.3 here in Huntsville is funded 70% by listener donations. We get a little bit from underwriting and a little bit from some other things, but it's mostly listener donations. And the main difference, like I said, is the commercial radio is really more about making money by selling things and getting you to buy things, and they have these huge blocks of 6, 8, 10 minutes where it's nothing but commercials, and then you get a few songs sprinkled in. And with us, it's really all about the programming, so that's one difference. But for me, the big difference is just the listening experience, like what you are hearing and what you are experiencing when you listen to it. And for public radio, me coming from a news background and a music background, you hear things that you just will not hear anywhere else. It will take your mind places that it has never been before. It will ask you questions and challenge things about the way you look at the world in ways that commercial media just doesn't do that. If you're familiar with shows like Radio Lab and TED Talks and even the news shows like Morning Edition, All Things Considered, they have a really strong focus on storytelling and highly produced news features where they're always trying to transport the listener somewhere, take you from your car, your kitchen, wherever you are, out into the world and out to the news story, out into the story as it's happening. And for me, I think that's really a great thing to hear as a listener, but also as a producer, to be able to strive toward that as a goal.
And for me, that's the exact reason why I listen to public radio. Public radio, and for those that I challenge you again to find your local public radio station, because there are programs right here in the Rocket City, the Tennessee Valley. And there's, again, it's an experience. It's storytelling. It's just something different. You mentioned once before, or someone in one of the meetings, theater for the mind. It's something that you're not going to get watching TV. it's going to be, you're in the car, you're driving, maybe you have a long way to go, you've got a 30-minute commute to work. Why not give your brain some great, imagination or just something
Right.
to explore? So that's important. Now, you mentioned, producing shows, and we're here at the Maitland Conservatory where production comes in the form of, music that either for a film or for a radio station or for a podcast or for whatever we may have. So in the radio world, what is producing? And because there may be a child out there or a man, woman, anyone that may be interested in producing or maybe doing it now and don't know that this is what they're doing. So what is production?
So the reason I got into public radio actually is because it started out with me being in bands, and just playing in bands and playing in bars and stuff like that. And
what did you play?
I played drums,
Nice.
Nice and loud drums, fast
Yeah.
drums. We played punk bands, metal bands, stuff like that. And so we would play shows and play house parties and things like that, and scrape together enough money to go into the studio and make a little, one of the first CDs I made is called Crappy Little Demo because it was something we made in someone's living room with their 4-track. But that early experience working with audio and recording and creating and putting things together was kind of how I got into public radio because I started as a student intern, and then I was like, well, I like the production part, and so let's just kind of learn some more about it. And so I learned how to combine, that sound gathering and sound capturing with storytelling and writing, and that really kind of lit the flame under me. It's like, okay, if I could somehow do this for a living, this would be fantastic, and it sort of worked out for me. But production, basically. At our station anyway, it is really a free-form thing, whatever you can think up. And a lot of it has to do with, as you know, we call it the sound capture. So that's whether you're a musician in the studio trying to get a good track, a good take on the drums or the guitar or whatever. So it starts out with making a sound capture of something, whether you're doing an interview out at Panoply, whether you're doing an interview like here in the studio. What we're doing right now is we're capturing some sound. We're capturing some raw audio to work with. And then you kind of get these chunks of sound and you mold them and you chop on them and you kind of edit them together a little bit and put them together and make something that hopefully people will enjoy and listen to and be inspired by.
And you've mentioned it before, for people like me that need a picture or they need it simplified, it's making a sandwich, so you're putting the pieces of bread together and the meat in between and cheese. Man, maybe you don't have meat. Maybe you just have mayonnaise. Like my son, he just likes making.
Could be a veggie sandwich.
Could be a veggie sandwich. Sometimes it's just bread. You never know. It's just a bread sandwich. I don't know if that qualifies as a sandwich.
I think you need something. In there.
There's got to be something in between. So now in radio and these programs, before I forget to ask this one, what is, and I know technically all, but is there maybe one or two programs that air that's your favorite, that you definitely don't miss an episode, that you just can't get enough of, and you're like, man, I love this show?
Man, I tell you, there are so many great programs out there. I can't really. No, I'll try to name a few. So we have our main channel, which is kind of like a mix of news and music, and there's a bunch on there. And then we have an HD3 channel, which is just a mix of all these other just crazy news programs, like about science and philosophy and religion. And I mean, there are just so many out there, but I'm going to point my finger at just a couple.
Yeah.
So one of them that I think is really just fantastic is one that's locally produced by one of our volunteers, Mr. Brad Posey.
Yeah.
He does this show called The Invisible City. It airs Friday nights at 9, and Friday nights at 7, Saturday nights at 10. And it's basically a show about every kind of music you can think of. And Brad likes to say he just reaches in his back seat and switches around and finds some CDs and throws it all together. But he puts in a lot of work into it. And you go from, some grindcore to Willie Nelson to just like these weird jumps. And it all fits together. And it's all music that you're like, you've heard before or you've never heard before. And It's just this mix of like familiar and unfamiliar, and you end up in these weird places in your head. And that's
listening to
me,
his show. I don't know where I am sometimes.
Oh man, yeah. So it's really an amazing thing, and he mixes in a lot of support for local music. Yeah. He has interviews with local musicians. So that's a great show, The Invisible City. You can check him out on Facebook, The Invisible City fan page. Some other great ones. I really like Science Friday. It's and so it's basically a live 2-hour talk show about everything science. Wow. And it's just, they will take just the most basic topic and drill down into it, and you just blow your mind every week. It comes on Fridays from 1 to 3, and they did this episode one time. I'm also a former landscaper, so I probably nerded out on this a little bit more than other people, but they did a whole hour on dirt.
Oh, wow.
One time, just like the science of dirt and soil.
Yeah.
And you would think, oh my God, how could that be interesting? But it was pretty amazing. And that's a good example of what public radio does. It takes these topics that you really maybe never thought too deeply about and drills down in there, and you're like, wow, okay, that's something to know right there.
Absolutely, man. And again, and shout out to Brad Posey, man, The Invisible City, great friend. And the shows, again, there's so much information out here. There's so many things that it's maybe in a way it's like a Google for your mind. It's a great way to you don't have to type and search and read pages and look for this and look for that. You could, hey, this program is talking about dirt and soil, and now I'm going to learn all these great, interesting things that would take you probably days to find on Google. And it's definitely not going to be as entertaining. So, it's like an encyclopedia for the mind. It's just so many great programs. And now you mentioned in the band, do you still play or do you still practice, to this day? And
a little bit. I don't have much time as I used to, but I still have a drum set.
Yeah.
And I mostly just like to listen these days.
Yeah.
But it's just something that I've kind of always done. I was a music major for a little while, and but it's also one reason that I'm really passionate about our station, 89.3, making sure that we support local music in all its forms, whether it's country, rock, hip hop, whatever it is. I know just from my experience, from the musician side, that you got to have somebody up top, blasting you out there and supporting you and letting people know that you're there. But also from a bigger community standpoint, it raises everybody's quality of life to have a really strong, vibrant art scene. And part of that art scene has to be a really great live music scene where people are doing original things and not just cover bands playing Brown Eyed Girl. I mean, people like, really expressing themselves and doing imaginative things in music. And Huntsville, not the biggest city, but boy, there are a lot of great bands here that are doing some things on the original tip, and I hope folks get out there and experience it.
And there's also a lot of history, from Huntsville. There's all these different bands, all these different songwriters or session players. Muscle Shoals is right down the road, and you've got people that have moved here or that have family here that just have these stories or experiences in music, and especially now with everything that's coming, with Mid-City coming and the entertainment and the music theater that they have, not theater, but the amphitheater that's coming around. What do you think about in the last 5 or even 10 years, just how much Huntsville has grown on the entertainment side for musicians, we've always had these places to play and venues and things, but I think as of late, we're getting a lot more. And now with Mid-City, we're going to have a lot more opportunities and places for bands, musicians, artists to play at. So what do you think about that, and what does that say for the Tennessee Valley that we've got these things happening now?
Well, I mean, just recently it came out that the city wants to fund a study on how to support local music better, and that's just like unheard of. I mean, to have, at that tier, them wanting to support local music is really amazing. And I think a lot of that has to do with groups like Downtown Huntsville Inc. You have some folks that are maybe a little bit of the younger, newer generations who are really trying to make Huntsville a place that everyone can enjoy, all ages, all age groups, and that will also be a place where you grow up here and you don't want to leave and go someplace better because you like where you live. And I think, so I've been here 9 years. I spent a lot of time in Tuscaloosa before that. And just in the 9 years that I've been here, it's grown a lot. I mean, downtown. So when I first started coming to Huntsville back, I'm going to date myself a little bit here. Like in the 1990s, I was in a band and we toured around a lot, and we used to play at Tip Top Cafe. We'd come up here, and that was basically the only place that we could play in Huntsville that would let us play. Yeah. And it was fun, man. It was a great.
Do you remember where it was in Huntsville or
the Tip Top Cafe?
Yeah.
Man, I couldn't tell you how to get there.
Because I'm always curious as to.
But that's like one of those legendary old bars. Yeah. And so if any of you folks out there remember the Tip Top Cafe, maybe get on the comment section and let
me know, because I love knowing where things were like that.
Yeah. So that was the only place that we could really play. But now there's just all sorts of great places, and they're talking about, like you said, making bigger venues, and I think that's amazing. I think that they've tapped into one thing that the city needs is kind of a mid-size venue where they can, because I mean Huntsville's really in a great position between some big cities, so you can really catch some really good acts as they go to make their money gigs on the weekend in Nashville or Birmingham or something like that. And if there's a suitable place where they can go and play, I mean, I think that's great. And that's great for the local music scene, because when you have the big bands come through and you let the local bands open up for them, that exposes them to just hundreds of people that have never heard them before. Yeah. And when you're just starting out, you selling an extra 5 or 10 T-shirts at a gig, that's a big deal, So, I hope that they push forward with it. It seems like it's got a lot of support. We're launching a new local music show in June. And I'm hoping that Tune In with T Mill, Spice Radio, Listen Local, Know Huntsville, all these great podcasts that are doing a lot of local music around here are going to jump on board and do something special that we can blast out there at 100,000 watts. And that way we can kind of do our little part to help push the local scene along.
That is excellent.
That is definitely happening.
Absolutely. So make sure you guys share, tell someone about that. And again, if you have any questions or for more information, make sure you drop those in the comment section. Brett is tagged in this video, so he'll see them as well, and we can get those questions asked for you, because someone that is a band or is an artist or someone that is interested in public radio. So all this information that we're talking about and we're sharing today, somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody
That's right.
that needs to hear it.
That's right.
Now one thing that I'm also curious about that I like and love is the amount of food and restaurants that is coming up in Huntsville. And every day I'm looking on AL.com or these blogs of these new developments, and this place is coming and that place is coming. I'm like, man, this is pretty exciting. The different diverse amounts of food that we're having, even the different cultures. And it's not all burger places, or it's not all, wing places. Though I could eat wings every day of my life.
Me too.
Great. But there's just a lot of great restaurants. So what are some of your, just places where you love to eat at here in Huntsville, here in town, or just maybe something that you would like to see come back, where you think, man, if they would really bring back this place, that would be excellent. And I'll give you mine. There used to be a place off, and this was years ago. Some people don't believe it, but there used to be a place off of Governors. And it was right across the street from the post office on Governors. And I can't remember the name of it, but it was almost set up like a Checkers or a Rally's, to where you had the 2 windows on the side and it was just drive-through. There was nowhere to eat on the inside. But man, they had some of the best burgers, fries, shakes, and it wasn't Rally's or Checkers. And people think, well, yeah, maybe that was a Checkers. No, it was a blue-looking place, and just the fries and things were really interesting. And then I think of just other places around that. A couple friends of mine, we started doing a wing tour, to where
I saw that
actually, yeah. So we're going around checking these different places, and unfortunately somebody's got to have the bad score, but there's also a lot of places that we think are great. And because again, I could eat wings every day. So what are some of your just favorite places that you think of as far as food?
Oh man. Well, I'll admit I eat at the Bandito Burrito on Governors.
Yeah.
Man, I eat there way more than I should. It's really good. I like the Super Nacho Supreme.
It's
That's
excellent.
good. Man, what are some other ones? I like Humphreys downtown. That's pretty good. I like their like the loaded fries, and they do some good burgers and stuff like that. There's this. So I live over in East Madison County.
Yeah.
There's a place called Raphael's. It's kind of an interesting thing. It's owned by some Hispanic folks, and they do Italian food.
Wow.
And
There you
so
go.
the man is good. They got the $10 all unlimited toppings pizza that's really good. So I like that. There's a couple like chicken tenders places around that I like, and so I try to bring my lunch from home the best I can because it's better for you and more economical. Being in public radio, you're always thinking about that. But yeah, I will eat some Bandito burrito. I'm kind of blanking. I can't think of any more.
There's so many places,
are, yeah.
I think of one of my go-to places. Bandito is one of my. It's like my meeting places whenever I'm meeting someone, and we kind of need that centralized location. And everybody loves burritos. Well, I think everybody loves burritos, but it's one of those places where, hey, meet me at Bandito, and we'll do that. And I think of places like Mangoes, and that are just really, really great Caribbean food, and just I love spicy food, and it doesn't get any hotter than jerk chicken. Maybe it does, but at least for my tolerance level, I don't need anything hotter than that.
Papa Eros is another
Papa
one I
Eros,
like.
Yeah.
I love them.
Out where I'm at 50 on Highway 53 in Harvest, there's the 5A's restaurants. Pretty much the same concept, great gyros, really good food, and especially the mom and pop places, man. And I really like seeing those places stick around. Funny story about Bandito Burrito is, and then I'm showing my age, but it's interesting that, I graduated, well, not graduated, but I went to Stone Middle School, all 3 years for my middle school, and now that's become Campus 805. So it's every chance I get to go to Campus 805, I go, because it's just weird walking around the arcade and oh my goodness, I'm trying to think of the name of it, but at the front where the arcade is used to be the principal's office, and now you have the gym that's now straight to L, and all these different places. The art room is now I think it's called the Revelry Room or something like that. But we used to, that was our go-to spot after school. There was a convenience store that was across the street that's now like a weird gas station, I think, for something. And then we would go to Bandito Burrito after school and after football practice, and it's still there, and it still tastes the same. There's still things. I might have wrote my name on that wall, and it's still there. I don't know, but it's still the same thing. It still has the great food.
1892 East is another good one.
Nice.
So yeah, the more you talk, I'm like, yeah, okay. I know I've eaten more than just Bandito, but yeah, there are a lot of good places out there. That's one thing Huntsville has going for it, and that's one of the things that they're trying to push along is I think they realize. I mean, a lot of people realize that Huntsville is going to be Alabama's largest metro area, like bigger than Mobile, bigger than Birmingham by 2022. I mean, that's not that far away. And so they're trying to ramp up as fast as they can to make sure that, okay, if we're going to be the biggest, we also want to have the best things for people when they're here. And that's, eating, that's like entertainment, that's local music, it's public radio.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have these things in place.
And again, back to public radio, I think that's one of the reasons. I want you to think about maybe for the average listener, or just the listener. I hate saying average. The listener that's out there, to make it hit home for them and why it's important for them to relate to. But one of the reasons I think, at least for me and for a lot of you out there listening or watching, why public radio is important is because it's your source for these things happening. If you want to know, well, what's happening with Mid-City, or what's happening with this, or what's happening with this election, or it's, again, we have all these news channels, but where's our local news channel? And we have of course, our local news stations, but again, there's only so much time in the day, and they have a lot to cover. But when you want in-depth, or you just have these questions about what's happening, it's another component of that news. Of course, we have the TV stations, but then public radio it's like that, just that source of information that you need, that library of music, or not music, but information, where you can find out about what's happening and the details. But for the listeners and people that, and some that may even think, well, why would I listen to radio now? Or I got my phone. I have, I'm in the car. I don't even have I got my auxiliary Bluetooth thing or whatever.
Right.
What are some other reasons why you think it's just so important to not only support public radio, but to listen, to public radio?
Well, I mean, for us, so Huntsville's pretty lucky. There are actually 5 public radio signals in Huntsville, which is, for a city this size, I think New York only has 4. So, I mean, wow. There's like crazy amount of great programming out there. But the thing that 89.3 Huntsville Public Radio does that the other stations don't is we are hyper local. Like, we are really focused on what is happening here. So you have this mix of international and national programming and news and music that are coming in. But you also, as the listener, need to be connected locally with what's going on. Not just like the things that you know about and are already interested in, but you need to have a place where you can go and like learn how to branch out and learn about other segments of this really diverse community that we live in. And I think that's one thing that our station does a really good job of, is really spotlighting, not just the familiar, but those things that you're like, I had no idea that existed. And you've helped with this through the community newsroom. We do a lot of that through our public service announcement program, which this station does like I would dare say like no other station in America. We basically give any bona fide nonprofit in the Tennessee Valley free airtime, and you can come and record a 30-second PSA, as you know, and we blast it out there like during the best times of day, not just at 2:00 in the morning. And it's a free service that these nonprofits can get great exposure for what they're doing in the community to support their service missions and not have to spend a dime to do it. And so that's great for, kind of the well-known folks like Huntsville Symphony Orchestra and the Huntsville Chamber Music Guild and Land Trust of North Alabama. But like the other groups, like the Huntsville Islamic Center recently had their, Meet Your Muslim Neighbor Day. And we were promoting the heck out of that, and that's the kind of thing that our listeners want to know about, is like, keep me informed of the things that are important to me, but also feed me some new stuff. Like what else, feed my brain with some things that I don't know that maybe I ought to know about. And so my favorite thing about the PSA program, and you probably got a taste of that. So T, just to give you a little example, T Mill through the newsroom was one of our producers that came in, and he basically recorded the groups as they came in, recorded their narration, and I kind of managed sitting them down and all that sort of thing. And you got a taste for like how diverse it was, like it is just like, oh my gosh, there's a Huntsville Friends of Rabbits Club out there. Yeah. There is a North Alabama Field Artillery Association. There's a coin club. There's the Dixie Scrabblers. I mean, there's all these. Whatever
you like. There's something out there for it.
I mean, it's amazing. There's we work with like 60 or 70 nonprofits, and just seeing that there are like all these groups out there with these little service missions working in their little circles, trying to do their little part to make things better. And you get everybody moving in the right direction, and you can make a difference. And so kind of back to your point, that's what you get out of supporting or listening to a local public radio station like 89.3 is, yes, you get this big giant mix of like these mind-bending ideas and news and diversity of viewpoints, but you're also getting this really hyper localized information about like what's specifically going on and things that like you would be interested in that you had no idea existed. So, that's what you can check out on our station. Also, all the PSAs are on our website, WLRH.org. If you click on the community calendar, pretty much any day of the week, you will find things to do, things that you have no idea are out there.
And make sure you guys right now, write that down, 89.3.com, WLRH.org. And for you guys out there that have a nonprofit that, again, take advantage of that PSA program. Log on to find out how you can come in the station and talk to them and introduce whatever club. You hear the amounts and just the range of types of clubs and nonprofits that are out there. And so, again, this is another way for not only for you to serve your community, but then for your community to serve you, to help you out as well. And again, by being public radio, you're reaching thousands, millions of people that are listening that want to know, finally, a coin club. I've been looking all my life for a coin club. I finally found a coin club. Thank God for me finding a coin club.
And it's like, we support groups like that, but it's also, all the local schools, like the theater productions they do, like any sort of community event that they do, local churches, faith groups, non-faith groups. I mean, it's just a mix of everybody. And really the only thing, and I'll just say this, the only thing that is really the big rule here is you have to be a bona fide nonprofit. And you can't be selling anything. You can't be like asking for money or asking for volunteers. Right. But we will help inform people about your service mission. If you're doing some sort of community event, we will help you talk about that. But if you're a bona fide nonprofit, just go to WLRH.org, look under the community tab, and you'll see something that says submit your PSA. Click on there. We got a big, giant waiting list of people, so you got to give us a little time to get to you. Don't be like,
that means you got to do it now.
Yeah, don't be like, we got an event in 3 days. Can we come? No, you got to give us some time. Yeah. But it's free, and it's great exposure, and it's something that pretty much no other TV or radio station will do for you as a nonprofit. So we're happy to do that. That's like one of our big community service outreach things that we do.
Excellent. Well, you guys, and again, I highly encourage you guys to, again, visit the website, contact them, and when you have a chance, ask them how you can visit the station, to come by and just kind of see what it is that they do, see what a public radio station is about, look out for any events. They have the pledge drive that just went through, and just see what's going on. Meet some of the people. These are your neighbors. These are people you went to school with. You say, hey, I haven't seen you in 20 years. What have you been doing? I've been at public radio. So come out, visit the station, visit the site, and tell someone about it. Share someone. Don't be selfish. You know how you have that one person that they know something that's really great, but they don't tell anybody about it. You go, how come you didn't tell me about this place? So you have to share and tell everyone about this. Don't be the only one that knows about this great public radio station. All right. Any upcoming things that we could, since we're live, any upcoming things that we could tell the people about?
Oh man, absolutely. So I'll tell you about 3 things.
Yeah.
So on May 9th and 10th. So we have this program that's called Away with Words, and it's kind of like, man. So I always describe it, if you ever heard of Car Talk, the guys that get on there and laugh and joke about, fixing cars. It's kind of like Car Talk for words. People can call in with these crazy phrases that their grandmother said, or this weird slang that their kid said to them on the way to school, and they will like trace the origins and kind of like deconstruct the phrase, and it's really interesting. So we're bringing them to town for a couple of live shows. We're doing an educational event at Lee High School. So if y'all are students out at Lee High School, or your kids go to Lee High School, on May 9th, we're doing a special just for students educational event at Lee High School. It's going to be pretty neat, and they're going to be, the students are going to be trying to stump the host with slang, and that's going to be great because I know some of the stuff out there. It's going to be a great challenge for them. And then on the 10th, we're doing a live show right after Beer Garden at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in the Nat Geo Theater. That thing's sold out like in 10 days. We're going to have a few ticket giveaways. We got a few tickets left, but that's on May 10th. Starting up in June, I mentioned the new local music show that we're going to start, and that's going to be produced, I hope, mostly by volunteers in our community newsroom. We're also restarting our Sundial Writers Corner. So if you're a poet, if you write commentaries, short stories, rap, anything that you put the words to, Sundial Writers Corner will give you a chance to kind of fashion that into a radio feature. And we're restarting that. That's one of the greatest legacies that Judy Waters, our Hall of Fame host, started many, many years ago with her husband. So that cranks back up in June. And then finally, I'll quit talking here. July 28th, we talked about local music. So we talked about Brad Posey's show, The Invisible City. Yeah. So his 500th episode happens sometime in July. Wow. 500 episodes this guy has done. That's amazing, And so we're doing, putting on a local music fest at Campus 805. It's called Invisible Fest. And it's going to be really neat. It's going to feature Wish You Were Beer and Yellowhammer Brewing. So we'll have the amped electrified acts in Yellowhammer, and then the acoustic acts in Wish You Were Beer. So one band will be playing, and then the other band will play, and then they'll kind of go back and forth all day long. And there's a great lineup of local music. That happens on July 28th. Do not miss Invisible Fest on July 28th. Go to WLRH.org, and you can get some more information about that. And we're really excited about that. I mean, 500 episodes. And that's him being a volunteer is just, oh my gosh. Doing any, people say all the time, I got a great idea for a radio show. I want my own radio show. Yeah. And my first response is, all right, what are you doing now? Because everybody thinks they can do it once.
Until they do it.
But can you do it 10 times?
Yeah.
Can you do it 20 times? Because you have to do it over and over and over again. And to do 500 shows is amazing. So hats off to Mr. Brad Posey.
Yeah.
Bad Brad Posey. And Invisible Fest, July 28th. So y'all come check that out.
Yeah, and a lot of great bands, a lot of great acts will be there. Even if you've never seen Brad,
I should have brought a flyer, man.
Oh yeah, see, yeah, we got to do that
next time.
And hopefully we can get it in time and then attach it to this episode and on the media and in the comments and whatnot. But also, if you haven't seen Brad, I know a lot of people listen to the show, but they may not know that Brad's in about 8 bands. So Brad's, he does these shows, he does these things, but he also plays. So if you've never seen Brad perform yet, definitely come out and check him out. He definitely knows what he's doing, and he can rock a party. So make sure you guys come out for that. For more information, how can people get in contact with you if they just for whatever? If you guys have questions about public radio that I forgot to answer, you go, why didn't you ask this question? If you want to get involved in the volunteer opportunities that he mentioned coming up in the summer, or just any information, how can people get in contact with you? Well,
our Facebook page is a really great place to ask questions, because that way you can post a question up and everybody can see it, and so we can respond to you, but everybody can kind of see the back and forth. So WLRH 89.3, just search for that on Facebook. You can also just send us an email at WLRH.org. Everybody on staff can see it. But the Facebook page, I think, is a really good way to do that. That way, we can get a public conversation going. And you may ask a question that 10 other people are like, well, I wish I had asked that. And that way, everybody can kind of see the back and forth on that. And if you're interested in doing the community newsroom, so during the month of May, we're going to do the final training for the volunteers that we kind of rounded up last fall. And then beginning in June, we're going to start having these weekly meetings like you came to. It's basically as you just sign up and you reserve a seat at one of the newsroom meetings. We kind of give you here's how it works. Here's how public radio works. We have some different volunteer paths that you can choose. You can be a field reporter, studio reporter, newscast reporter, do some other special events and things like that. So that's coming up in June. But you can find all that on the Facebook page and on the website.
Excellent. And what's that Facebook page one more time?
WLRH 89.3 FM HD.
Excellent. Brad, thank you for coming to hang out with us.
That's right, man.
Pleasure. Make sure you guys, again, go to that Facebook page. Again, ask the questions, share the information. If you heard something in this interview that can be of help and assistance to you or someone else, please share that information with them. Drop your comments or questions in the chat room.
And I'll get on there and answer too. I can answer on the...
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent, absolutely.
I will answer any question out there.
Absolutely.
Bigger and crazier, the better.
There you go. See? All right. And this episode of In Tune with T-Mail, as you guys see, we're at the Maitland Conservatory. In Tune with T-Mail is recorded live and powered by the Maitland Conservatory, produced by Sunshine Enterprises, our fellow friend, Miss JQ, and also PalisadeHills.net. So thank you, Sunshine Enterprises and PalisadeHills.net, for any of your music needs. If you have music that you need for a podcast, if you have music that you need for a video, music that you need for a television program or your YouTube vlog, and you want royalty-free music that they're not going to tag you for and tell you to take it down because you don't own it, visit PalisadeHills.net to get your royalty-free music, all right? And thank you guys for watching. Please make sure that you share this episode. You can subscribe everywhere that your favorite social media is. We are there, In Tune with T-Mail. This is another episode, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.